Welcome to this month's teaching series on prayer, intercession, and spiritual authority. Prayer is beyond just asking God for things. Prayer is fellowship. Prayer is relationship with God, the Father. It is partnership with God to the fulfillment of His purpose on earth. Prayer is not a religious activity. It's a system of the kingdom. Intercession is not for few. It is a divine responsibility for every child of God. Spiritual authority is not meant only for pastors. It is an inheritance of every child of God. So, as we're going to break down this teaching, stay tuned and be blessed. So, what is prayer? Prayer is communion with God. It is communication with God. It is when a person speaks to God and is able to listen to God. So in this first episode, we're going to look at what prayer is. So what is prayer? Prayer is communion. Prayer is communication with God. It is when someone speaks to God and is able to listen to God, and apart from listening, is able to align to the will of God. And like I said, prayer is beyond just asking for things. Prayer is establishing this fellowship that you have with God, and then the fellowship will cause you to partner with God so that His will, His purpose will be actualized on earth. That is what prayer is. Prayer as a communication. I like us to look at Jeremiah 33 verse 3. Call unto me and I will answer thee. I'll show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. So when you call on God, your ability to call on God is prayer. It's not as prayer. And not just calling. It is communication. You must have the feedback. When you call on God, you have to understand that God is able to respond to you, to talk back to you. So you listen for His voice when you finish talking. You don't just talk and then you get up. And then when you listen to Him or listen for His voice, then you are able to partner with God, given to what He will tell you to ensure that His purpose, His will, is actualized on earth. That is what communication is in prayers. And then I want to advise that if you want to have a fruitful communication relationship with God in the place of prayer, ensure that you listen for what God has to say to you after talking. Don't just kneel down and finish talking, blabbing, then you get up. Always listen for the voice of the Lord and let there be a communication link, established. Then prayer is also communion. Communion is fellowship. When you learn to enjoy communion with God in the place of prayer, it establishes intimacy. The more you stay in communion with God, the more intimate you become with the Father. And then when intimacy is established, it now births forth a transformation. The story of Jesus that, when He was on earth, He took Peter, James, and John. He took them to the mountain of transfiguration. The Bible speaking in Luke's Gospel chapter 9, verse 28 and 29, it said, and it came to pass about an 8 days after these sayings, He took Peter and John and James and went up into a mountain to pray. And as He prayed, the fashion of His countenance was altered, and His raiment was white and glistering. This tells us that prayer has the ability to bring a transformation to any man's life. As a matter of fact, this should be the first thing anybody should look for. You cannot be praying and you call yourself a prayerful person or a prayer warrior, but there is no transformation. You are not transformed from your present state to the personality of Christ. You should look like Christ. If you are praying and then you are not transformed, then something is wrong somewhere. it means it is a religious activity. But here we're trying to establish that prayer is not a religious activity. It's a relationship. It is intimacy. It is where your life can be transformed. In this case, you need to know that prayer does not only change circumstances. Prayer is able to change lives, to transform lives. It changes your countenance. It changes everything about you if you're praying the right way. Prayer reveals the glory of God, and prayer brings about a divine manifestation. You can look up these also in Matthew's Gospel chapter 17, verse 1 and 2, and then Mark Gospel chapter 9, verses 2 and 3. So we're going to continue this episode on prayers in our next edition. You stay blessed and ensure that you stay praying. God bless you.